Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new, then welcome to my video and enjoy. Anyway, I'm a sex coach and today I'm reacting to a TEDx talk that goes over how to become a sex god. Now, I think being a sex god would be pretty cool. I would maybe call it a sexual master rather than god because I don't know if I want all the responsibilities a sex god comes with. But anyway, how to become a sex god. This is by a guy named Gregor something. I'm not gonna try to pronounce the last name. But I was really curious and I wanted to watch this video and I wanted to see what he thought made you a sex god and see if I agreed with it. And so that is exactly what I did. I sat down and I watched this video and I couldn't stop watching because I pretty much agreed with everything this guy has said, and I have an extremely similar background to him, and it's kind of what caused me to make this YouTube channel in general in the first place.
For most years of my 20s, I struggled with something that could easily be described as probably one of the most or worst nightmares of a 20-something guy. I suffered from ED, which is short for erectile dysfunction. This means I had a hard time, no pun intended, getting or keeping an erection or having an orgasm during intercourse. But little did I know that I was just one guy of many under the age of 30, suffering from a barely known global phenomenon.
So how does he become a sex god? What does he say? How do you do it? Well, you start by stop watching porn. And I have said this so many times on my channel that porn is just the worst thing ever. You should never watch it because it causes so many issues in your life, problems, not only sex problems, but problems just functioning in everyday life. And this is for a lot of reasons, and he outlines these reasons really well in this TED Talk.
I also stumbled upon first insights on how pornography can influence the brain. When I hit puberty, the internet became widely available, so this became my perfect outlet to explore my sexuality. When I had my first time at the age of 16, I was already watching regularly hardcore porn movies online, sometimes even on a daily basis, and most of the time for more than 1 hour per sitting. So we were taught that masturbating and watching porn doesn't do any harm. The belief that pornography can't do any harm doesn't seem to be quite true.
So basically, to sum up why porn is so bad, well, seeing sexual content gives you a surge in dopamine. It's a rewarding thing to see sexual content. And the internet, the way it is set up, we can access sexual content and a huge, unimaginable variety of sexual content in the blink of an eye without any effort really, and at the fastest speeds you can possibly imagine. You can cycle through so many different sexual stimulation scenes, pictures, videos, whatever it is. And because that stuff releases dopamine, because seeing these scenes and images, because that releases dopamine, that means your brain is thinking, yeah, dude, I want more of this. You should watch more porn, and you should go deeper into the porn, and this is amazing. And so it's such a huge dopamine rush that your brain wants it, and it wants it more and more. And then you pair that with masturbation, so you actually get this release of sexual energy, and it feels great. That in itself releases more dopamine. It is so highly addicting because of all these factors. And that is really the trap in how you get addicted to it. Now, what does this have to do with being a sex god, and how does this infiltrate your life and ruin it? Well, if you think about it, all that stimulation you're getting on your computer or your phone or however you're accessing this high-speed internet porn, the amount of dopamine that you receive from seeing these scenes, from the endless amounts of women or men or just naked bodies and sex scenes that you can access on the internet, that is so much more stimulating on your mind than the real life thing. The real life sexual experience with a human partner, with someone other than a computer screen. And so what happens is real life sexual content becomes less attractive, less desirable than what you can access on a computer screen. And even if you think in your brain, like, I really want real life sex more than I want porn, your brain disagrees and your brain wants the porn more than a real life sexual partner. And what you'll find, what I have found and what this guy has found, is that when you are in a real life sexual situation, it's not stimulating enough, and you can't perform, and you can't maybe even get an erection as a guy, or as a girl you can't really get aroused, or maybe you can't climax. You can get aroused, but you can't have an orgasm. And these are all issues that are caused by that overstimulation of watching internet porn.
Countless experiences online and first studies paint a different picture, with the result that porn can indeed have a negative influence on the brain, and it does so by rewiring it, and especially a brain that is not yet fully developed. The science is a bit complicated, but the concept is actually quite easy. Consuming pornography online is quite different than browsing through a Playboy magazine. A Playboy magazine has a limited amount of still images, whereas the internet offers virtually abundant amount of hardcore porn videos. So a 15-year-old today can have more virtual sex partners in one sitting than one of his ancestors in a lifetime. So this leads to a hyperstimulation of the brain. This means more dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter that makes us feel good. And this in return can again cause, which is called a desensitization. At one point, reality starts to look pretty dull compared to what the internet has to offer.
So now that we know why porn is so bad and what it can do to your sex life, and I will mention again that it does negative things beyond just your sex life. It can ruin your entire life. It can make you lazy, unmotivated, and socially awkward, anxious, all these things, depressed. So if you don't want to quit just to be a sex god, then quit for those other reasons, because those are huge factors in your life as well. They will affect your overall happiness in life, and you should not take that lightly. So then, it's easy, right? How do you become a sex god? You just get rid of porn, and then you're home free, right? Well, almost. And he does mention that it kind of takes a complete thought reversal on what sex is, because porn really teaches you that sex is something that it isn't. And so when we're watching porn, it's a really voyeuristic approach to it, and he says it really well.
My experience of a sexual reality were the shadows for most of my life. So of course I tried to imitate the shadows, which are in the end nothing more than distorted and abstracted version of a reality. For example, pornography limits sexuality to a passive and voyeuristic perspective, whereas the reality of human sexuality is active and immersive, having a dimension of interpersonal connection, which adds a dimension of meaning. Or pornography limits sexuality to mainly the visual sense, whereas the reality of sexuality is a multi-sensory experience, with touch being probably the most important one.
And he also mentions that the brain is the ultimate sex organ.
I did some more research on the psychological aspects of sexuality. And not only did I find out or got an awareness for the fact that the brain is actually the most important sex organ.
And I have also preached that as well, because sexual pleasure doesn't come from the physical reactions that are happening in your genitalia. It comes from your mental perception of that sexual experience. How aroused you are, how passionate you are, how immersed in that experience is going to have an effect on your perception of that pleasure in that experience. And that's going to determine sexual pleasure. It's going to determine how great the sex is. If you're not invested in that experience, if you're just have your mind wandering, or you're not horny at all, then that experience isn't going to be that pleasurable. No matter how great the physical feeling is on your genitalia, if your mind's not in it, then it's not going to be good. So basically, simply to be a sex god, just get rid of porn and think about sex in a different way. Think about it in terms of psychological stimulation rather than just focusing on physical stimulation or just having a lot of sex with a lot of different partners. Unfortunately, porn kind of teaches us that there is no human connection in sex, because what we're seeing on our screens is not representative of a human connection. We are not connecting with the people that are having this sexual experience. We're just kind of watching, sitting back and masturbating. But real life sex, it has that connection component to it. There is an emotional component to it that you cannot simply ignore. And so, for one, quit porn. For two, focus on psychological stimulation rather than physical stimulation. And three, don't forget to connect with people on a deeper level, and then you will become a sex god or a sexual master, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, I'm going to link to the TEDx talk in the description below. Go ahead and check it out. He is pretty articulate about this stuff, and he goes in a lot more detail than I do. I just wanted to make aware that these things are happening if you're watching porn, and if you want to be better at sex, which is why I made this channel. I want you guys to be better at sex. Then porn is basically a roadblock in your sexual progress. So there you go. Get rid of that and you will be much happier and much better in bed.
So now for me, a sex god or a sex goddess is a person that consciously creates a multisensory and meaningful sexual experience.
Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave me a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new. And until next time, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye, guys.